Hey everyone, welcome to the Real Money podcast. I'm Lisa Chastain, and just thank you as always for being here, spending your time with me, spending your time with my guest. And I know today's going to be a really powerful conversation. Today, my guest is Hanna Olivas. Did I say that right?
You did.
Hanna Olivas. And she's a super powerhouse, born and raised in Las Vegas. I really like to champion and celebrate women in Las Vegas and, of course, everywhere else in the world. Let's dig in. Just so you know, Hanna was actually on my podcast. She was one of the first guests that I had. So she's within the first 10 episodes. I don't remember exactly which episode, but you can go back and hear Hanna's whole story and journey. And today we're actually going to lean into like the part 2 of the story, because in that conversation, we got to know Hanna, her journey, and everything that's led her to this point. And now we're going to talk about how she's created a 7-figure business and onto an 8-figure business, and all the amazing success that she's having so that you can learn how to create that for yourself. So welcome, Hanna.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be back.
I'm grateful that you're back.
It's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've been championing each other, I don't know, maybe for a few years now.
Yeah.
When you first started She Rises, I remember we connected almost right away.
We did.
In your own words, I was going to do this, but you're going to be a whole lot better at it than me. Tell the audience about your brand and what you're up to.
Ooh, so our brand is based on women empowerment, education, celebration of women. But we really wanted it to be not just a local brand, but global. Mm-hmm. So we opened mid-pandemic, a very simple story. It was an Instagram page. Then we thought we'd dip our toes into the podcast world. The podcast did incredible. We were talking about things that women really wanted to learn or align with or say, hey, me too. That happens to me too. And so now today we operate in a little over 16 countries with publishing, public relations. And then in June of this year, we launched Phoenix TV, which is for men and women. And again, it's all about education, celebration on that global level. It's been a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. And you recently just won a Telly Award.
We did.
Yeah.
That was kind of a shocker, because if anybody could see that day behind the scenes, I was a hot mess. I was very nervous because I was interviewing the iconic John London, who does interviews for some incredible men and women that we look up to as mentors. And so I was, it's almost funny. We submitted it and we won a Telly. And yeah, it was great. It was exciting, a little shocking. Our whole team, we got the call and everybody's like, oh my God, we won a Telly, So it kind of goes back to my mindset of, wow, who knew this little Latina woman from East Las Vegas was going to win a Telly, a couple years in business. I mean,
here you are.
Yeah, I'm going for the Emmy.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'll champion that. So rewind to 2019. Did you ever think in a million years that just 4 years later, this is where you would be?
No, I was actually dealing with some health issues. I was running a nonprofit full time. I was still working full time, totally different career as a makeup artist for 25 plus years. And nope, this was definitely not on the radar. But my daughter and I had been working so hard on the nonprofit that I said, we should really do something based around women for women. Like, what's out there? We didn't know. We didn't even look at if there was competition. We had no idea what we were doing. Trust me when I tell you. We had this big, messy whiteboard and we wrote all these different ideas and things. And I had I think 20 notebooks. We were sitting at Bloom, matter of fact. Mm-hmm. And I was meeting with the strategist there to kind of help me get things in tune. And I remember even walking in there with all my notebooks, and I'm sure she was like, oh my gosh, this woman. Mm-hmm. But all those notebooks had all these dreams and goals and things that I wanted to have come to fruition, and they did.
They have.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're crushing it.
I'm trying.
I know you are.
I'm trying.
Talk about a pivotal moment, though. You had a choice to create an incredibly successful company and also battle a health journey that is ongoing. I had a conversation with a woman last week who is battling with a similar health journey. And in her mind, that's the only thing that was possible for like her health. Mm-hmm. I have to get healthy. I have to deal with what I'm dealing with. And it was almost the reason that she doesn't have the success that she really wants. Mm-hmm. And for you, you're like, okay, what was that like?
Yeah.
How has that journey been for you?
I think, originally when I was diagnosed, I was a big cluster. And I really didn't know what I was going to do. I went down a really dark tunnel for about 6 months. And my husband told me one day, he goes, you're either going to fight to live or you're going to die. You choose. I was almost 9 months pregnant. I lost our son, and that had to do with my diagnosis. And so, I was mourning the loss of being a mother. I was mourning the loss of mourning the whole diagnosis issue, and I just kind of fell into this deep, deep depression where I didn't want to do anything. I wouldn't even get out and brush my hair. I didn't care anymore because I was like, well, I'm going to die anyway. So, what's there to do? And then, the way he said it, I was like, wow, you're a real jerk. But it was probably the best thing he did. And there was this switch that turned on, and I said, you know what? Okay, so I have this disease, and they're telling me all these different things that are going to happen and how much time they think I have. And then I started looking at my kids, and I realized I'm still here. So what am I going to do with that? And the whole reason why I switched gears so fast, honestly, is number one, we opened up a nonprofit only because I couldn't find the support I needed. And so I thought, well, if I'm going through this, is there anybody else here in Vegas that's going through or has a similar diagnosis? And if so, where are they? And nobody was stepping up. So, but people from other places in the world, I joined Facebook groups, and people were like, we need more help. And I tell my husband, I think I need to do this. And he's like, are you crazy? You're going to go through treatment. You're not going to have the stamina for this. And all of a sudden, it just changed. And I was like, yes, I can. And that is, I told him, I'm like, you unleashed the power that I didn't even know I had. Mm-hmm. And so we just, after the nonprofit opening, learning how to navigate through the healthcare system here, which is awful. Learning how to travel 2-3 times a month just to get treatment, because again, here, a lot of doctors didn't even know what it was.
So you go to California for treatment still?
I do. Yeah. I go twice a month, like clockwork. It's become a part of my routine. But I did go through this place that you're speaking of in terms of this woman man or woman, whoever it is, you have two choices. And I hope that if someone is going through a diagnosis or something so life-changing, you can't sit still, because if you do, you may never get back up again. Mm-hmm. It's picture the boxer. They're in the ring, they're boxing, he gets knocked out. But if they lay there, then what? But if they get back up, they may not have won that round, but they're going to fight again. And each time they fight, they're going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. Right. And that's kind of how I picture myself. And as time's gone by, even since the last time you and I talked about it, I've had some challenges, major changes in life, and I'm getting older. And as you get older, things on our body don't work the same way anyway. Right. But it's I have to work harder than the normal person to be able to even sit here with you today. But I'd rather do that than nothing, and I have a legacy to build. I still feel like I have a purpose and a mission. I don't even think I've tipped the iceberg yet, in all honesty. I don't know what it looks like yet, but my heart tells me I still have a long way to go.
Absolutely. So yeah, you are. You're only in your 4th year.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Not even 4th year, actually 3rd year. Yeah. And I do want to tie this to finances, because I hear women say so much that money's the reason that they can't do X, Y, and Z. And also, we do have a health crisis in America where so many people are dealing with medical bills and crazy medical bills. And you're someone who is battling the health journey of your life. I'm assuming that there's a lot of medical bills that go with that.
Tons.
And you've built a seven-figure business from nothing.
Literally.
In 3 years. What? I mean, there has to be something that you can give our listeners, and I know there is, to say, if I did it, so can you. What have been those pieces in the last 3 years?
Well, I think one thing for sure that anyone could do is, one, money is an object, right? So if you let an object get in your way, what do? You stop, right? But if you push through, it's like people always worry about how. But if you really truly focus on the why, the how kind of happens. Like we didn't start with capital. We didn't have any loans. We didn't even use credit cards. Like we literally worked the first year of business. We both worked full-time jobs and ran the nonprofit. We had a lot of people who really didn't take us seriously because when I announced opening a business and being a patient, people questioned my capabilities. Like, oh, well, can you run a business? Well, what about this? What about that? And so we really had to start from scratch. And you kind of have to get some thick skin. And when people are telling you no, you have to have plan A, B, C, D, and Z, and then back to A again. There's no, I don't think money should be a reason to stop anyone. I think you have to get creative on how to make things happen. You have to be honest. Like if you're trying to form something incredible, you need help. So we reached within our network and talked to other women who we thought might help, who would want to be a part of this. And maybe it wasn't money-wise, but promotion-wise, things we could collaborate on. We knocked the competition out by saying, hey, look, we're the new kids on the block and we want to learn from you.
Right.
So teach us what you know, and we'll work on this together.
Becoming a student to get started. What were some of those no's that you heard in that first year?
No, because you're women. No, because you don't have the business background. No, because you don't have the capital. No, because you're sick. That was the biggest one. You can't handle it. What happens if you don't go to work? What happens if you can't run it? And I'm like, well, my daughter can, and then at that time it was just her and I. So for the first 8 or 9 months, it was her and I, and then we brought on one team member. And I feel like that was a big moment too, because she's like, Mom, we need help. And I'm like, no, nobody's going to see it how we see it. Nobody's going to do it how we do it. No. And she's like, Mom, I can't do it all. I need help. You need help. And so our very first employee was a graphic designer. And then it just kind of went from there. And again, we were like, how are we going to pay this man?
Yeah. Because you're still working full time.
So we kind of came up with like this little system of, okay, we started coming up with goals sales wise. We came up with personal financial goals. We did not use the word budget. I don't like it personally.
I don't either.
But we said, okay, so each one of us is going to chip in a certain amount to be able to afford this man. But hiring this man is going to help us grow to that next step that we need to grow to. And it did, so then we worked with him, I think, for almost another 9 or 10 months. And then I'm like, now I'm saying we need help. And she's the one saying, how? We were barely paying ourselves. And a lot of people were like, oh, you're already paying yourselves. And in my head, I'm like, well, yeah, we have to. Business is business, personal is personal. And I had to make an income because at that point I walked away from doing makeup and doing that stuff. She walked away from her full-time job. So we had to get to the grind and make sure that we were very intentional. I don't think we ever had time to really think like, is this going to work? I think we just went into that mode, that switch went on and it never went off.
It hasn't. Yeah, no, it's just been, I've been watching, been experiencing you just like one step after the next step after the next step after the next step. What was that first milestone that you were like, holy crap? Was it a certain income? Was it a certain experience? Was it your first book launch?
I think when some things kind of clicked to me was when we launched our book, Becoming an Unstoppable Woman in Finance. And I think the reason why is because it was so welcomed in the community. And we had you were in the book. Mm-hmm. We had some very powerful women in this book. And I had spent 3 or 4 months just talking to people all over the world saying like, look, this book's going to come out. You need this book. But not only that, but this needs to be a money movement, teaching women how to be financially fit. Because I don't want to say independent because we're all independent already. But financially fit is different. And a lot of people get confused by, what debt is or what a budget is, which is why I don't like the word, or where they should spend their money. What does financially fit really mean to someone? So I did a ton of studying. I followed you a lot, learned a lot from you. And I just really did the work. And I wanted my daughter to understand it too. Okay, so we've made this amount. How much should we be paying ourselves? Like, we didn't even know how much to pay Brian at that time. And we had to actually research and say, okay, what does someone like this make? Yeah. Are we paying this guy every week, every 2 weeks? It was a whole learning curve. But there's so much information out there that we never focused on the how. It was the why did we need him, But when that book, Finance, came out, I think that was the one that I was like, okay, so this is really working.
Yeah. How many Becoming an Unstoppable books do you have?
6. So it's a book series of 6 books created around that movement, becoming an unstoppable woman, and that's not just in finance, that's in everything.
Yep.
We talk about influence, women with influence, how do they utilize it? Women with finance, how are they utilizing it? Are we reinvesting back into our business, into our community, into our families, into strangers who, what good can you do with money?
Right.
So
I love that.
I think it has to be, I'm trying to think how to say it. If you get money, right, and you just hold on to it tight, where does it go? Nowhere. It stays right there. So you have to let it go, make room for more because more is going to come.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
You have to let go and trust the process. And that's what we did. By the way, I'm a huge control freak, so that was very hard.
All CEOs are control freaks. All owners and CEOs. You've had some amazing momentum. How have you navigated that momentum? And also, I do want to speak into the medical bill piece specifically, because that's a real thing. How have you been able to navigate growing a business, which is cash flowing, having your household, which relied on your full-time income, and slowly, I'm guessing you had to step up what you were paying yourself, how you were paying yourself, and then also all of these medical treatments that you've been getting.
Yeah. So I remember the first medical bill I got, I about fell over from treatment. So one of my treatments is $13,000 every time I get it. And, we have health insurance, but then there's copays, right? So, we kind of did the math. Me and my husband sat down. We're like, okay, so we know that these treatments are $13,000 for one. Now add another one, then another one, and another one. Then we figured out what our copay was going to be. And I don't know if I'm supposed to be saying this, but I'll just share it. I hired through my medical where I get treated. They assign you, if you want, a financial advisor.
Oh, awesome.
And so when that offer came up, I said yes, because I did not want to get a ton of medical bills coming in and all of them being marked overdue because I couldn't keep up. And we knew that my disease was going to be treated as chronic. In other words, it doesn't end unless something happens to me. So she said, the smartest thing you can do is start a payment plan and stay on that. And every time your treatments come in, whatever that copay is, it goes into that bank of bills.
Right.
And I pay a certain amount every month towards it.
Like a medical escrow.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. So there's health savings accounts and different things. So you just started your own escrow account, essentially.
Basically. And so like when those bills come in, I don't really stress over it anymore or focus on it. I mean, they're big. They're in the millions, but my copays don't stress me because even if you like, and this is, anybody should know this, even if you only pay $25 a month, it's not going to go on your credit. You're not going to be in default. And you don't have to stress about going to your mailbox.
Right.
You know, like I go to my mailbox because I'm looking for, you know, hey, good job. Hey, can you come and talk on this show? Or hey, here's a paycheck from this event that you just talked. Like that's the stuff I'm going for. The other stuff gets pushed, you know, to the side.
Yeah.
So
I get that. And that's something that's advice that I give to a lot of clients is just pay $25, $50 a month. Over time, it'll get paid off. They're not high interest. And if you are keeping up with them, like you said, there's no major ramifications, but you just have to know that. And that's part of owning it, right? That's part of being your financial leader in your life is knowing what your rights are, knowing how to handle these things. Because so many people, women, you'll get a bill in the mail and feel like I have to pay this right away. Or if you're in credit card debt, I have to get rid of this immediately. And that's not all going to happen all at once.
Yeah, I think you have to be realistic and you can't be afraid to look at your debt because like how many people, honestly, let's be real here. How many people at one point in their life were like, okay, all the bills are going to go under this mat, you know, and I'm not going to look at it because it's overwhelming and it's stressful. But if we do look at them and we understand where we are, then we can set those, even if they're small, like you can conquer each one step by step. But if you just kind of put it in what I call the denial river, then the river goes into a flood and well, then, you know, you're up shit creek without a paddle. So we kind of have to, you know, do the hard work.
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're in the work every single day. To that point, I wanted to ask, I know for me, we don't have the exact same experiences, but neither of us came up around money, grew up around money.
No.
And for me, I've had to work through some real limiting beliefs in order to get to the next step, to get the next, you know, in order to do what I need to do in my business, to earn what I need to earn, to get to that next level. And now I'm not even at $1 million business yet. And that's the next journey for me. And every step along the way, I've had to break through limiting beliefs. For you, what have been those beliefs that you've had to work on to be able to create a 7-figure business?
I mean, worthiness was always a thing because I didn't grow up with money. You know, my grandparents raised me. We weren't poverty, but I mean, it was paycheck to paycheck. You know, there wasn't a lot of extras. My mom kind of came in the picture around my 12th year. And she was a single mom, you know, so it's not like she could go out and buy the best tennis shoes. Back in those days, I think it was Reebok. I bought my first pair of Reeboks. I did a lemonade stand.
I remember that story. You told me that.
So
yeah,
I think it's, I think one of them was, am I worthy to have this? And that's something that I struggle with, but I know where it comes from now. And you kind of have to, everybody gets like those little doubts, right? But it's what, do we believe them or are we just like, whatever? You know, it's not easy. I mean, I was trained to think one way. I was a single mom. You know, I worked 2 jobs. I used to take my kids to the restaurant with me. I was a food server and they would help me roll silverware. I was excited for take your kid to work day because that meant less of a workload for me that day.
Right.
So switching from never knowing if I was going to have enough or just enough to this is different. Like having the freedom to travel, having the freedom to take my grandkids or my kids places or my husband, like we're going to Pebble Beach. I didn't even know what Pebble Beach was 10 years ago, you know? So I think it's a two-parter. One is the limiting beliefs. If you believe them, you're not going to get where you want to go. But the other is being open to the good stuff that you're meant to have. And most people, their minds are kind of the opposite. Like they expect the bad and not the good. So you kind of have to like be open to change, open to abundance. It's a thing, you know? When people say manifestation, is it real or is it BS? It's real. You are what, you know, you attract what you want. So if everything inside is yucky, you're going to attract the yucky. If everything inside is good, you're going to attract more good.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like it's easy because it's not. Like there was last week, I didn't want to get out of bed. I was tired.
I was going to ask you.
I was tired.
What is the hard stuff?
Oh, you get wore out. I mean, running a business, I'm a mom of 5. I have 2 grandkids. I have a husband. I have a goat, a father-in-law. Like we have a full house.
You have a goat?
Yes. His name is Max. After Max Crosby from the Raiders. He's so cute. So like we have this crazy dynamic in my house and my sister is there. So like I was telling my husband, I'm like, oh my gosh, we're the net. And I'm, you know, like there's those days, right? And does every family get along? No. So like we have this crazy dynamics in the house and all these different things are going on and I'm trying to work and this child needs this and this child needs that. My husband needs this, the father-in-law, the goat, the right? So sometimes I get overwhelmed and I'm just like, okay, I need to shut down because if I don't, it's going to come out in my work. It's going to come out. I'm going to look like the dragon lady, which I am called that at home sometimes. So I have to like push through some of those hard days. And last week I had one where I was just completely, I felt defeated. I had surgery. I'm like, geez, if it's not one thing, it's another. I went to treatment, threw my back out. Like everything was just happening at one time. And I woke my husband up in the middle of the night and I was like, I can't do it anymore. I quit. I don't want to go to treatment. I don't want to go to another doctor. I don't want to get a port put back in. I'm not doing it. And he was like, okay. And I looked at him. I was like, that's it? Okay. Yeah. Okay. I support whatever you want. He goes, but remember the consequences. And I was like, well, I don't want to go to work either. He goes, okay. He goes, sure. Let it all go down the drain. All the work, all the this, all the that. And I was really mad. And then he rolled over and fell back to sleep. That made me even more mad. So I was like, so I'm laying there and I'm like, wow, you big jerk. You know, like, but then I got up. It was like 3:00 in the morning. I said, well, I might as well start my day. You know, he got my blood boiling. I'm like, challenge accepted. So you need to have a dream team. You need to have cheerleaders. You need to have mentors. You need to have somebody you can talk to that can talk you off the ledge. And I have a lot of those. Adriana's one. My husband is another. I have really great friends. And then I also look at where I am today versus where I was 10 years ago. And I'm like, there's no way I'm going back to that place. Never, ever again. No electricity. I remember our water got shut off. Our electricity got shut off. Like it was bad. And I was like, I'm never going back there. So I think that is when those limiting beliefs come in, when you're having those hard days, look at where you are right now versus where you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, a year ago, because we don't stay in the same place. No matter how hard we try, it just doesn't happen. It's not possible.
It's not possible. What do you use to guide yourself to the next? Because I know for me, especially, I'm experiencing some really big growth right now. And I think it's because I'm stretching outside of my comfort zone that I wake up some days and I don't know. I'm a control freak too. I like to know what's going on, how it's going to happen. I like to be in control. And right now I feel like there's a lot moving on around me that I'm not in control of, even though I have it in motion. What do you use to guide you to know that you're on the right path?
I pray a lot. I journal a lot. I look at some people who inspire me, and I wonder, did they go through what I'm feeling right now? I feel like there's so many other people who have done more than I have, right? And so they make the test, they give the answers, and they show you. So sometimes it's prayer. Sometimes it's a really good glass of red wine. Sometimes it's journaling. Sometimes it's watching someone else's success to really get you pumped up. Sometimes it's just going to the beach with my hubby and not even worrying about it. There's no manual for this. There's no balance. It's just not. It's just, you got to go with the flow. You can't put your life jacket on, wear your helmet, get in the boat and row.
That's
and it. You got to trust it.
Yeah. No one gave you permission to do this.
No.
Right? So there's I say this probably too often on the podcast, but there are a lot of women out there looking for permission.
That
or
and
wanting
validation.
Permission or validation.
Yeah.
And I know for me, this has been a journey and a process of me looking myself in the mirror and saying, you're doing this because it matters. I pray every day to God, please use me. Keep me on the path that you have for me. I don't know what that is, but I'm going to trust that you do. And it is constant for me, internal conversation of this is what you're meant to do. It's worth the risk, all of those things. What do you tell yourself?
You're going to laugh when I tell you this, but this is the thing. So we all know who Eminem is, right?
I love Eminem.
So lose yourself. You got to lose yourself to find what you're looking for. Like, I throw my hair up in a bun and I play that song over and over and over. I tell my kids, this is my song to you. Because at the end of the day, here's two things we know for sure. We're born, we're going to die. We don't know how and when, but we know it's going to happen, right? So nobody gets like a redo in life. This is the one and only we get. So what are you going to do with it? Are you going to worry about validation from somebody else? Are you going to wait to get permission from your mom, your dad, your husband, your kids, or society? Because really at this point, I'm like, I don't really give a shit what society says. I'm going to do it anyway. If I'm operating with integrity and I'm doing things right, then, and I'm not hurting anyone, then I'm okay. So I don't really care what anybody says. So I had to lose myself. I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago. Not even close to the same person I was 20 years ago. And even different this year than where I was a year ago. Like every time we take like that step of growth, you change. You lose an old piece of you and you're morphing into something different. And does it bring up yucky stuff? Sometimes. But you got to lose the yucky stuff and you still got to push through and you got to fight. And I'm a fighter. Like, I was told, I'm probably going to have back surgery. I sat there and listened to this doctor and they all want to do the same thing. They get the little scribble pad for the prescriptions and the MRI and you're going to have this. And my son was with me and I'm looking at him and he's looking like he just lost his best friend. And I hobbled in. I couldn't even stand up straight last week. And we're walking out and he's like, Mom, I'll go get the car. And I go, no, you won't. I'm going to walk to the car. And I'm a fighter. I'm not going to go have surgery. It's not in my schedule. It doesn't fit there. It doesn't fit. I don't have any time. Like, I have to travel. I have things to do. I have kids to play with. Like, I'm a mom to an 11-year-old who keeps me on my toes. I don't have time to sit and wallow in it while, life is not going to stop for me. Right? So why do I have to stop?
You don't.
Right. So if somebody's looking for like that perfect opportunity, there isn't one. If they're looking for validation, you don't need it and you don't need permission. No. You're the one. You create the life you want. It's almost too simple, which is why human beings make it complicated.
We overcomplicate everything. We do. I remember sitting on a phone call with someone that I'm working with, a media group that I'm working with, and we were going through how I'm going to position the brand, all those things. And I was just quiet. And he's like, are you okay? And I was like, I cannot believe it is that simple.
Yeah.
I have spent thousands of dollars. I've pulled my hair out, and you're telling me it's that simple. And he's like, it's that simple. I think that's a beautiful message today, right?
It is.
I was like, are you kidding me? Great.
I interviewed a lady last week who spent over $300,000 on self-care. And she's like, I call it bullshit. And I said, 300,000? Like, you could do so much money. I mean, so much more with that money. And she was like, I had to test it. And I'm like, what'd you find out? And she goes, self-care is just taking care of yourself, eating healthy, going out into nature, going and listening to your favorite music. If you're dating, go on a great date. If you love coffee, go buy that favorite coffee. She was like, it's simple, but we make it hard. Like, how many times do you see on a Sunday, you'll look on Facebook, right? And you'll see somebody going, self-care Sunday. And I'm like, self-care needs to be every day.
Yeah.
It isn't designated for Sundays. And if you're really doing self-care, then your ass is not on Facebook taking that photo.
That's right.
You're involved in yourself, loving yourself, giving yourself mercy, grace, rejuvenation to get back up for Monday, because Mondays are fun, right? So, it's crazy how hard we make it. Simplification. That's my thing for 2024. I want to make things so much simpler for women.
Yeah. How do you see that happening?
I think it comes with really educating women on, we're going to break some stigmas, like about women having to have like perfect social media, women having to look a certain way, women having to talk a certain way, like all these different things, they have to be broken.
They have to.
And this isn't just for some women. This is for all women.
Agreed.
I'm really vested in learning different business cultures, how women do business differently in other parts of the world. Like Latinas, we have coffee and sweetbread. Like, it's that simple. A transaction is over that, a handshake, a hug, and it's like your word is your word, right? So then here everything is contracts. Oh, we need to get a service agreement. Oh, we need to have a contract, which they're good. Don't get me wrong. But understanding what makes women tick, what these, like breaking some of these unrealistic goals and burdens that they've put on themselves. Like, we're in hustle culture and we got to slow down.
It's not helping us.
No, it's causing heart disease, diabetes, anxiety, depression, panic attacks. And then everybody's just like, what's happening? Well, what's happening is you're happening.
Yeah.
You're trying to make it all happen at one time. We're not even close to where we want to be.
No.
Not even close. But we're also, like, the saying is slow and steady gets the race. It really does. Because what happens when you go fast? Really ugly shit happens.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Simplifying.
I think that's brilliant and beautiful. And I think that in so many ways, the eyes are on American women. And in so many ways, there are other women on this planet that are leading the way in that. I look at other female prime ministers and presidents in other countries that are more mastering the art of simplifying and slowing down. And those countries are healthier. They're happier.
Yeah.
Right. And I do believe, and we're going to do this work together, is that we can create a healthy America and be a part of that healthy culture for women, and we can slow down.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think, technology is like at its finest, right? You can do anything, just about anything. You can go to YouTube and look something up and learn it and do it, which it's kind of scary. But I think we talked about this not too long ago. We were talking about AI, Chat GPT, and it's a great tool, but it is a tool. It is not meant to take the place of the personal connection.
Right.
It's meant to simplify things. But like, what happens? Like, they came out and then Threads came out and the whole world is like, oh my gosh, Chat GPT, make millions. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, because you still got to do the work.
Yep.
Everybody's looking for that quick get rich.
There's
but
no
there's
such thing.
it's easier if you do the simple steps, connection, like you have to have some knowledge. You can't just let Chat GPT grow your business and make your quotes and do all that. Like that stuff has to come from you. People are still buying from people.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And it's not going to change. This thing that everybody's seeing right now, it's not going to last forever.
It's going to go through its own experience. It's going to go through its own, and people are going to get wrapped up in it the way you're going to get wrapped up in it. And to your point, I feel like we'll start using it as a tool and a way to make our lives easier, hopefully. But I've seen way too many sales scripts and way too many sales funnels go out. And on the other end of that is a human being providing a service.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, how frustrated do you get when you call, like, just as an example, your credit card company, and you need to talk to a human? How many prompts do we have to go through to get to the human?
Zero.
Geez. And then now they got smart about it and they're like, zero is not an option. So if you can't press zero, then you have to sit through the prompts, and then you get on with a person who transfers you to another person and so on. Simplify. We still need human connection.
We do.
It can't all be automated.
No.
It has to be balanced. In business, you have to have both.
You do.
Yeah.
You absolutely do. And for women, connection is what makes us tick and makes
100%.
us thrive. And for you, you're here for a reason. I always say that on the podcast. I know you are. You're searching for something. You're wanting to hear something today. And I think that from Hanna, it can be, you've got to simplify, and you've got to have the courage to connect first and foremost to yourself and live your dream. Live your dream. I don't think you knew 10 years ago that this was your actual dream.
No.
Right?
No.
When did you wake up and go, this is it? Has that happened yet?
I mean, yes and no. I've always had this dream that I was going to be standing on this stage speaking to men and women about my mess. And what mess, I don't know yet, because there were so many along the way. But something's always been tugging at my heart since at a young age. Like, I know this isn't it. This is not all I'm meant to do. What it looks like, I don't know yet, because I'm still building things and I'm still planning things. And I have a lot of big goals that a lot of people are like, really, you want to do that? Like 10 years ago, I wanted to open a shelter for battered women and children because I was a battered woman. And 5 years ago, I wanted to travel the world and fight world hunger. And I still do want to do both. But those are just some of the things. So I need at least another good 30, 40 years. I'm going to be 49 in 2 weeks. So 40 years, I'll take another 40, 50 years. I want to go to 101. So between now and 101, I have like all those different things to do, And so I try not to focus on like health stuff in the sense of like the negative side. And it's really hard because there are those days where I feel super defeated. And like the one I was talking about last week where I'm like, okay, here's the towel. I'm going to put it in the chuck it, bucket. And
the what?
The chuck it, bucket. And then I have my husband who goes, okay, like, right. And I know his okays. So dream team, know that everything doesn't have to be done in a day. Mm-hmm. And you have to trust yourself. You have to love yourself. You have to believe in yourself. And you just can't really care what other people think of you. Mm-hmm. It's like I was watching my grandson today. He's going to school and he's like, I'm scared, Grandma. And of course, Grandma's like, and I'm trying not to fall apart. But I'm like, go in there. I told him, go in there and just be you. I'm Dom. That's what he said. I go, that's right. You're Dom. Go be Dom. And I'm going to go be Grandma. Okay. And then, be you. Stop trying to be other people. I'm not trying to be you. You're not trying to be me. I'm not trying to be, the next Latina Oprah. I'm just trying to be Hanna.
That's right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Yeah.
It's really not that hard.
Wake up, be yourself, make a difference, keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah. For Sophia in particular, I know you have Adriana. How many? You have 6 kids. So you have Adriana.
So I have Sophia's the youngest.
Yep.
Then I have Jasmine, Adriana. I have Ron. I have Michael. And then we have Isabel. And so there's in total between me and my husband, there's 8 kids.
Okay.
7 grandkids. And the fundamentals are unreal.
Yeah.
There is no manual.
No.
At all.
No.
Blended families, if someone tells you blended families is like unicorns and fairy dust, they're lying. I did not know what I was saying I do too until like 4 years ago. I was like, okay, all right. So yeah, so we have Sophia, and then our oldest is 33.
I was going to say, ask you to close the show out today. Thank you for being here. We're going to talk in a minute about all the ways that people can get to know you and follow you and work with you and all the things. But before we do that, thinking about Sophia in particular, being your youngest, what's the world with the She Rises movement and all with Phoenix, with you being you, everything that you and Adriana are creating, all the amazing female authors that you support? What's the world that you see possible for her?
Oh, gosh. Well, I could tell you that she already is asking, like, what classes does she have to take this year so she can run my business? And it's funny because, and you don't have to believe me when I tell you this, but anybody who knows Sophia, she knows all my clients' names. She knows all my passwords. She knows where my credit cards are, my debit cards. Like, kids are sponges.
Yeah.
And they watch their mamas. And so if there's anything that I could say about this whole thing is your kids are watching you. And if you don't lead by good example, you're going to lose in a hard way. Mm-hmm. You know, our kids have to be first. So we talk in the sense of when Sophia is, 15, 16, 17, when she can come in and be doing admin and learning and running some of the tech stuff. She's actually very, very smart. But in her heart and in her mind, this business will be hers. And she will be the boss of the other children. So right now, I have 1, 2, 3 of my kids out of the 6 who work in it. She will boss them around. That's what she tells them all.
I love that.
So I think what that means is when it's time for Sophia to step in, I will be traveling to my favorite place that I have not been to yet, but I know it's my favorite, which is Bali. I'm going to hang out with the elephants. I'm going to do it all. And she's going to run the company with the kids, and we're just going to, we're going to change a lot of things. So I think her watching my every step, and she does not miss a thing. Like, she holds me accountable for so much. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I think she's going to be an incredible asset and bright light to the world.
I love that. You're showing her the way.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And there's a whole story behind that, which and it's so crazy. Like, I was looking at her today. I was like, do you want me to walk you up? Because today was her first day in junior high. And she's like, nope, bye. I was like, I love you. She's like, bye, Mom, love you. I'm like, okay. All
right.
You want me to help you cross the street? No, Mom, just stay there. That's what she was like. Just stay there, Mom.
Yeah.
I got this. I'm like, okay. Do you want me to help you? No, Mom. She was good to go.
So. She's got this. That's a great way to end the show today. For any woman watching this, for you watching this show, not any woman, for you, you got this.
Shine bright like a diamond. That's what I tell her every day.
Yeah.
I'm like, go shine bright like a diamond. She's like, Mom. I'm like, it's a thing.
It is.
It
is. Thank you for that. Thank you for that reminder. Yeah. Okay. Where can people get involved? So we started the front end of this show with all the amazing things that you're up to. And there are some real tangible ways that women can work with you and be a part of the She Rises world. What are those ways?
Well, we have an extraordinary podcast. We have publishing. We have public relations. We have Phoenix TV at She Rises Studios. If if you just put at She Rises Studios, you'll find everything that we do. We have an incredible community that is free. We do all kinds of stuff. I mean, we have summits, we do retreats, we do all these different things. But this is my one thing that I always say to women. When you join, because we call it our home, She Rises is our home. So we're inviting you into our home. What do you do when you go in someone's home?
Take your shoes off.
You get comfortable, you take your shoes off, you connect, you build real relationships. We're not that business that our sole focus is only on sales. Our investment is in one another. So, and we're also about collaboration. We don't do the competition because competition, especially in society right now, it's just not, there's good competition and there's bad, but there's so much abundance that even if there's 20,000 coaches, there's still enough for those 20,000 and one. Yep. So come into our home, be kind and help, lead by example.
I love that. What would you tell Hanna 20 years ago?
What were you waiting for, girl? What's wrong with you? Why did you do all the dumb things you did? What happened? Why?
Yeah.
Why? I always, I have those little talks with myself. I'm like, what were you thinking?
Yeah.
But really, honestly, some of those things that I question myself, I've written about. And there's patterns, there's cycles that I had to break, generational curses. And I believe those are real. Mm-hmm. It's crazy how, I was born a fighter. I fought for my life since the day I was born, and I've not ever stopped.
Yeah.
And I don't think that I ever will.
No. And now you're fighting for other women's lives too.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the work that you're doing.
Oh, thank you. Same to you.
Yeah.
You're making some major moves and changes for women.
Well, you inspire me.
Oh,
we're doing it together.
Ditto.
Yeah.
I wonder what's next.
What's next? That's a great question to leave you in today on the podcast. What's next for you? Who are you going to be in the world? Don't let your story and your past define you. Grab the bull by the horns. Let's get to work. And if you need inspiration, you can always come back to Hanna and her story and know that it's possible for you too. Thanks for joining us on Real Money today. I'm Lisa Chastain, your host. We'll catch you next time with a brand new guest, brand new topic right here on Real Money.